Does your brain feel like a browser with 100 tabs open, and you can't find where the music is coming from? We aren't lazy. We are biologically overstimulated. Your brain's CEO is currently drowning in a tsunami of notifications, tiny decisions, and mental clutter that it wasn't designed to handle. Today, I'm giving you a brain-based blueprint to escape the noise. I'll show you how to reboot your mental operating system and move from being overwhelmed to being organized in just 3 simple steps. The 100-tab brain. Why modern life is crashing your internal hardware. Modern life floods the brain with tasks, messages, and signals every minute, and the mind begins to feel crowded. Inside, the exploding browser keeps opening new tabs for every ping, notification, and bright idea. Behind the scenes, the brain CEO tries to pick priorities as the screen keeps flashing with new requests. Burnout is a hardware limitation, not a moral flaw, and you notice it as fog, drift, and slow reactions. That image of a 100-tab brain helps people name the strain. When the RAM runs low, thoughts stall, deadlines slip, and focus flickers. Digital static fills the air as apps leak tiny bits of attention into the system. First, triage and reset. Close tabs you don't need right now. Mute non-essential notifications so the brain isn't pinged every minute. Capture new thoughts on a simple page or notebook, not on every window. Think of this as clearing the top drawer of the filing cabinet, leaving room for the things that truly matter. Do a quick daily reset, a 2-minute check at the start of the day to decide what matters most. That reset cuts digital static and gives the brain's CEO space to work. Second, build a simple filing system and routines to lower cognitive load. Put tasks, ideas, and references into 3 clean places: a primary to-do list, a single note capture, and a small reference folder. Keep them in the same spot so the mind stops hunting for information. For a new project, drop a placeholder in the task list and tackle it later when the day allows. Then run a daily 10-minute review. Scan the top priorities, move anything non-urgent to a backlog, and close out what you can. Keeping the filing cabinet orderly reduces digital static and keeps the brain's CEO steady. Third, optimize cognitive load with sleep, movement, and structured breaks. Regular sleep resets memory and mood, and helps the next day run smoother. Take short breaks during work, stand, stretch, or take a brief walk. Limit late-night screen time to cut the influx of digital noise. Add microhabits. Write 1 clear task, make 1 decision, then move on. Over time, the exploding browser calms and the 100-tab brain becomes a smaller, calmer unit. Fog lifts when the internal hardware recovers from the strain. The CEO of your mind. Understanding the part of your brain that handles decisions. The brain CEO sits in the prefrontal cortex, the seat of planning, weighing options, and steering choices. This part runs the show when you decide what to do next. It keeps the long view and the small steps in balance. When many tasks press in at once, the CEO can stall. The exploding browser idea fits here. Too many tabs open, and the system slows. Burnout is a hardware limitation. When stress runs hot for a long time, the prefrontal cortex loses clarity and speed. You notice it as slow decisions, fuzzy priorities, or a voice that sounds like "I can't decide." Digital static hums in the background. Too many notifications and racing thoughts fighting for attention. The filing cabinet becomes useful here, a place to store what you're carrying so your brain can breathe. First, clear the input and externalize memory. Reduce the noise by capturing every thought in one place. This is your filing cabinet in action. Move items into simple, practical buckets like do today and defer. For example, you might put buy groceries in today and draft proposal in later. The goal is to turn mental chatter into a neat list, so the exploding browser stops competing with real work. When you see a task on paper, it's easier to decide what matters next. Second, reboot the brain CEO with routines and decision rules. Build tiny decision habits so you don't rely on willpower alone. Create if-then plans to guide common choices. If a new task arrives, you decide quickly whether to handle it now, defer it, or drop it. Establish fixed cues for starting work and for ending a session, so you aren't constantly re-choosing. This reduces digital static and lets the CEO focus on real choices rather than constant re-evaluation. Third, shield the system with rest and structure. Sleep, movement, and breaks restore mental energy and sharpen focus. Turn off non-essential alerts, keep a clean workspace, and set clear boundaries between work and life. The goal is to give the brain room to re-energize so burnout doesn't squeeze decision power dry. With these steps, the brain CEO can steer more calmly, the filing cabinet stays organized, and the digital static fades back into background noise. Biological overload. How too many choices create a mental brownout. Your brain has a limit on how much it can hold in mind at once. When there are many choices, this limit shows up as a dull fog that makes simple tasks feel heavy. Burnout is a hardware limitation, not a weakness you can will away. The mind can act like the brain CEO trying to run a company while dozens of tabs are open in the exploding browser. The result is slow thinking, mixed signals, and a mood that slides toward frustration. Digital static is real. Every alert, every new option, every ping costs a little energy. The filing cabinet in your head starts to bulge as you try to sort and compare. You might notice a stream of small wins failing to land because you're bouncing between possibilities. In everyday life, this shows up as choosing a coffee, a show, or a playlist becomes a larger project than it should be. The brain tends to treat too many options as risk, so it freezes just long enough to feel uncomfortable. Keeping too many choices in view taxes attention and then memory, which is why simple tasks feel harder. First, lighten input. Reduce the number of options you have to juggle. Turn off non-essential notifications and keep only those that truly matter. When you shop, limit choices to a small, trusted set: 3 bread options, 3 milk brands, 1 go-to snack. Make 1 default action for common moments, and let the rest be optional. This is like pruning a garden so the most useful plants get energy. If you can't decide right away, default to the option that aligns with your typical habit and revisit only if a real need shows up. Second, build a simple decision protocol. Give yourself a fast rule for quick calls. If a decision won't change your day in a meaningful way, choose the simplest option and move on. If a choice seems to take more than 60 seconds of mental energy, dump it into a later pile and set a brief reminder to check it again. Write down a short set of criteria you trust: cost, time, impact, and use them area by area, not for every tiny choice. The brain loves a clear path, and this protocol keeps the filing cabinet neat instead of overflowing with loose papers and forgotten thoughts. Third, create a daily reset that externalizes memory. Set aside a short 10-minute window to sweep away digital static. Archive urgent emails, clear redundant notifications, and label tasks for the day. Use a single place to store decisions so your brain doesn't have to recheck them every hour. A quick, consistent ritual is like giving the brain CEO a calm runway to operate on. Over days, this rhythm reduces the fog and makes space for focused work to flow again. The cost of static. Why small notifications are stealing your big ideas. Tiny notifications pull cognitive energy. They seem harmless, but each ping nudges your attention away from big ideas. The brain treats tiny alerts as tasks that demand a quick response, even when you are aiming for deep work. The result is digital static that coats your mind like dust on a filing cabinet. Over time, that dust builds up, muddying focus and dimming your best thoughts. Burnout is a hardware limitation. The brain runs on energy, attention, and time, and when those are crowded by noise, deep work shrinks. Small notifications become quiet clock hands, ticking away at your ability to think clearly. The exploding browser is real in daily life. Lots of tabs open in your mind, each one a tiny distraction calling for attention. When your brain pays that price, ideas stall before they take shape. Step 1. Clear the surface. Start by turning off non-essential alerts. Batch the messages you actually need to see and set a clear window for checking them. Put the phone in another room during focused work, or use Do Not Disturb and wake it only when you choose. The aim is to shrink the number of prompts your brain must answer. When the surface is quiet, you feel the first spark of relief. You can breathe again, and the mind stops pinging back at every little sound. Step 2. Rebuild the brain's filing cabinet. Capture ideas the moment they arise with a simple, trusted system. A single note app, a scratch pad, or a physical notebook works the same way here. Move thoughts out of your head and into 2 or 3 clear buckets: next, later, and done. The brain CEO can finally focus on decisions that matter because the noise is out of sight. You'll notice fewer stray thoughts wandering back in, and that big idea you had can begin to take a real shape instead of vanishing in a blur of digital static. A concrete system lightens cognitive load and makes progress feel possible again. Step 3. Practice mental reset rituals. Build small, regular rituals that interrupt the drift of attention and give your brain a chance to reset. Short, intentional breaks help the brain cool down and recenter. During these pauses, look away from screens, stretch, or take a slow breath. Reducing multitasking is key. Switch tasks only when you truly finish what you started, not just pause it. The aim is to lower the noise floor so the big ideas can rise, clear and strong, without being drowned out by a stream of tiny alerts. With practice, the mind's energy recovers enough to slip back into flow, and the big ideas stop getting crowded out by the constant push of pings. Small changes accumulate into real relief. When you guard the surface, tidy the filing cabinet, and give the brain real breaks, you reclaim cognitive space. Ideas stop stalling at the edge of attention and begin to land with actual momentum. The cost of static drops, and your big ideas start to breathe again. If you keep at it, you'll notice fewer moments of buzzing distraction and more moments where your thinking feels clear, calm, and usable. Step 1. The brain dump. Externalizing data to free up mental RAM. Burnout is a hardware limit in the brain. When too much sits in memory, thinking slows, focus drifts, and even small tasks feel heavy. The exploding browser in your head has dozens of tabs open, and the brain CEO starts juggling too many tasks at once. Externalizing data to free up mental RAM is the first move. This brain dump is a simple habit. Put thoughts, notes, and reminders somewhere safe outside your head. Choose a calm time and a simple tool, a notebook, a notes app, or a voice memo. Open a blank page and start writing whatever comes to mind. Do not edit, judge, or organize yet. This is not a finished plan. It is a dump. Capture tasks, commitments, upcoming events, reminders, ideas, and worries. Tasks become items you will act on later, but for now the time is not yet decided. Worries can be notes about what might happen, names of people to contact, information you want to remember. The aim is to unload the mind's clutter and move it into a safe place. The digital static dissolves as items leave your skull. The brain's CEO breathes again when the RAM frees up. Examples help show how the dump works. A to-do item might read, "Call Maria about the report," or "Order groceries." A reminder could be about an appointment or a follow-up email. A note might capture a future project idea or a piece of information you expect to need later. A worry could be, "What if this meeting goes badly?" A quick line like, "Need a quick outline for the presentation," keeps the thought from looping. As you write, let ideas flow without censoring them. The point is to move the data from the head to the page or screen and clear space for the next moment. After the dump, your mind feels lighter, smoother, and less noisy. That quiet head is the first step toward clarity. Digital static fades, and you notice a sharper sense of where to start. This prepares the brain for the next move in the plan, where the items will be sorted and filed. The filing cabinet idea will come into play, turning free-floating notes into actions and organized lists. In short, you've created breathing room in the brain's memory pool, which makes the rest of the three-step plan possible. Step 2. The filter. Choosing what matters before your brain shuts down. Burnout is a hardware limitation. Your brain can only hold a handful of things in working memory at once. When too many signals hit at once, the exploding browser appears, tabs popping, alerts pinging, attention splintering all over the screen. The brain's CEO needs a gatekeeper. The filter is that gate. It decides what gets opened and what stays in the background. Without it, digital static drowns out clear thought. The filter begins with a simple, repeated test. Does this move me toward my top goals? Is it urgent right now? What happens if I act later instead of immediately? If an item fails these tests, it's a candidate for postponement or discard. The filing cabinet comes into play here. Put items that pass the test into organized folders or lists, not into your active mind. The brain CEO can then focus on the handful that truly matter, rather than chasing every ping. Burnout shows up when the system is overwhelmed. The filter keeps the hardware from breaking under constant load. To make step 2 practical, run a 3-question triage every time something lands in your inbox or on your screen. First, assign a simple yes or no. Does this align with a current priority? Second, if yes, does it require attention within the next few hours? Third, what is the concrete action that follows, and how long will it take? If the answer is no to any of these, move it to a backburner file or delete it. Think of your workflow as a filing cabinet. Keep only what fits in the active drawer. The rest goes into a labeled folder where it can be retrieved if needed, but won't clutter today's work. The exploding browser quiets down when noise is redirected to proper drawers, and digital static fades. A few concrete examples show how this works in daily life. Email from a coworker with a clear deadline gets tagged as urgent and opened first, while newsletters go straight to a low-priority folder. A meeting request without an agenda is declined or postponed, so it doesn't fill your day with wandering conversations. Social media or news alerts are limited to 2 or 3 fixed times, not peaked at between tasks. When you follow these rules, you feel the fog lift a little. The brain CEO can actually see the pathway ahead instead of wading through a swamp of distractions. Step 3 then takes the kept signals and turns them into a real, doable schedule, so you move from intent to action without burning out. Step 3. Strategic silence. Why doing nothing is a high-level repair skill. Burnout is a hardware limitation of the brain. The brain CEO has a small battery and a crowded desk. When too many tasks push in at once, attention slips and decisions feel slow. The exploding browser in your head fires up with too many tabs, each one begging for a response. Digital static fills the room, and thoughts collide like noisy wires. The brain is not lazy, it's overloaded. Strategic silence is a high-level repair skill that gives the system a chance to cool down and reorient. This part of the plan hinges on deliberate quiet. 2 to 5 minutes of silence, several times a day, acts like a software reboot for the mind. During these windows, turn off notifications and close unnecessary apps. Sit upright, relax your shoulders, and breathe slowly. Let the urge to act rush by without grabbing at the next task. Thoughts will pop up, some anxious, some clever, some simply restless. You watch them pass without judgment, like clouds drifting across a clear sky. The goal is not blank mind mastery, but a clearer picture of what matters now. In real life, you can use strategic silence as a practical pause before action. In a meeting, wait a beat after you hear a question before answering, giving your brain time to filter noise from signal. When you finish a cluster of work, take a quiet moment before moving to the next block. At home, before replying to a message or checking social feeds, steal a short silence to listen to your own pace and needs. The filing cabinet is useful here. Drop a quick, one-sentence note about what you'll handle next, then close the lid and rest your attention. The pause lets digital static settle, so the next step isn't a frantic scramble but a chosen move. This third step sits inside a simple 3-part rhythm. First, reduce input to give the brain room to breathe. Second, externalize what you can so your internal engine isn't constantly juggling. Then, third, invite silence to reset the brain CEO. When you treat quiet as a tool, you turn a weakness, fading focus, into a deliberate practice that rebuilds energy and clarity. Burnout feels like a hardware fault, not a moral failing. Silence becomes a repair skill you can train, tiny but powerful, repeatable, and real. With steady use, the exploding browser quiets down, the filing cabinet stays organized, and you regain an edge that comes from a momentary pause rather than a constant push. The physical mirror, how a clean desk creates a clear mind. Facts: a clean desk reduces visual noise that competes for your attention. When the surface is clear, your brain doesn't have to juggle every object as a cue. Clutter acts like a signal flood that pulls focus away from hard tasks. The brain CEO runs best with a simple dashboard, not a carnival of objects. Burnout feels like a hardware limit. Energy runs thin and thinking slows when the workspace fights you. By clearing the desk, you preserve mental bandwidth and cut the drag on your thinking. The desk mirrors your inner focus, and a tidy surface makes focus more likely. Step 1. Clear the surface. Start by removing everything not needed for the current work session. Put away items that can wait until later. Keep only essential items in reach: a single notebook, one pen, your laptop or monitor. Set up a tiny 3-drawer filing system on the desk. To do, reference, done. This simple structure is the filing cabinet in real life, turning chaos into order and cutting the time you waste looking for things. Step 2. Build microhabits to keep it clean. End the day with a 2-minute reset. Straighten the desk, close what you won't need tomorrow, and wipe the surface if needed. Close extra browser tabs. Treat the exploding browser as a risk and cap it at one anchor page. Put incoming items into the to-do tray instead of scattering them across screens. Let the brain CEO have a clear agenda by writing tomorrow's top 3 tasks on a sticky note and placing it where you will see it first thing. Digital static. Tidy digital space too. Keep a clean desktop, calm notifications, and a simple folder system for files you touch often. Step 3. Shape the environment for ongoing clarity. Lighting matters. Dim, flickering, or harsh light drains energy and makes mistakes more likely. A comfortable chair and a steady posture reduce physical strain that steals attention. A small plant or a quiet background reduces noise without blocking work. Naming and sorting digital files in a simple way matters as much as the physical. Use a single place for tasks and projects, with short, consistent names. Burnout is a hardware limit, so give the brain short, steady work intervals. 25 minutes of focus followed by a 5-minute break, with longer rests after harder days. That rhythm keeps the brain's CEO in control and the digital static from piling up. With these steps, mental fog loosens and the desk becomes a clear ground for action. You feel lighter and more sure about what to do next. The physical mirror of a clean desk reflects a mind that runs smoother. The brain moves faster when the surface is calm, and focus follows. You don't need more time, you need a clearer system. Burnout is a hardware limitation. The brain can only handle a small amount of active thinking at once. When stress stacks up, mental fog settles in. The exploding browser shows what happens when dozens of tabs stay open in your head. Digital static buzzes from constant notifications, pulling attention every which way. The brain CEO needs clean signals to decide quickly. The filing cabinet builds order, not chaos, so you can find what you need without digging through memory. Step 1. Tame the incoming flood. Mute non-essential apps and turn on Do Not Disturb for focus moments. Set a single place to capture ideas. When a thought lands, drop it into one inbox note with a clear label, like Call Ava about Project 10. Processing happens later, not in the moment of distraction. Once a day, review the inbox and decide the next move. This reduces digital static and keeps the brain's CEO in the loop. Step 2. Build a simple map that acts as the filing cabinet. Drawers help you move thoughts from messy memory into clean lists. Have 3 parts: Inbox, Next Actions, and Archive. Inbox holds ideas and reminders. Next Action stores the real to-dos. Archive keeps finished items for future reference. For example, Project Rewrite Report becomes Next Action, Draft Outline. Keep only a small set of active projects. A simple rule from the brain CEO helps. Choose actions you can finish in one session and move the rest to next actions. Limit to 3 to 5 active tasks for today. That keeps the brain from chasing too many goals at once. Step 3. Establish a daily rhythm that keeps the system honest. Morning ritual. Spend 5 to 10 minutes scanning inbox and pulling 1 to 3 top next actions. Block deep work time on the calendar and stay off multitasking. Midday check-in to resync and adjust if plans drift. End of day 5 minutes to clear the board and jot any new ideas. Weekly prune removes stale items and keeps the cabinet tidy. Examples include scheduling a 60-minute writing block and using a timer to stay within it. With a cleaner system, mental fog lifts and effort feels lighter. You don't need more time, you need a clearer system. You're not broken. Burnout is a hardware limit for your brain. When you push past it, thoughts crash like the exploding browser, digital static fills the screen, and the brain CEO loses the plan. But you can reset with a small, brain-based plan. 1. Quiet the exploding browser. Do a quick mind dump for 5 minutes, then pick 2 or 3 tasks to keep in focus. Close extra tabs, mute most notifications, and pause new info until your plan is set. 2. Tidy the filing cabinet. Put every thought and idea into one safe place, a simple to-do list or notes app. Label things, and choose today's 3 top tasks. Archive or file away what isn't needed right now. 3. Power the brain's CEO. Start a tiny daily routine. 20 minutes of planning in the morning, short breaks to rest the brain, and solid sleep. Put screens away 30 minutes before bed. Small rituals make big brains feel calmer. Key points in a sentence. Overstimulation wears you down. Burnout is a hardware limit, and the fix is quiet the browser, tidy the cabinet, and empower the brain CEO with a simple routine. If this resonates, you're not alone. Which step will you try first? Tell me in the comments. If you found this helpful, please like, subscribe, and share with someone who could use a lighter mental load. Hit the bell for updates. In the next videos, I'll dive deeper into each step with easy templates, quick demos, and a printable worksheet you can use every day.